Alright, everybody, and welcome to the roundup. Delighted to have Johnny back. He's had a dig at me off camera because I only get him back for shitey cup weeks. So next week we've got a full card of league games, and he'll be back on then, and he can actually talk about it. What's been happening, mate? How you getting on?
Aye, good. Like I said, happy to come and talk about these bloody cup games again that seem to just roll on week after week after week.
Mate,
But
I've got some good
just,
stats for. I've got a good stat for you. Talk about the Darvel game, right?
oh, I
So,
bet you do. Aye. I bet you do. And I don't kid on. I know you've got nobody else for next week, so don't actually kid on like
Do you know? I actually had a message sent to me. That's who it might be, actually. I mean, we were talking off camera about something, but I had a message sent to me by somebody asking me to get somebody on, and I was considering doing it next week, but I will wait for another week, and then we'll get them on, and it'll just be the boys next week. But this week we have only 5 league games, and the rest are West of Scotland Cup. So bear with me. I will read through the fixtures, and then we'll talk about the cup game, and we'll go into the league. Beath 1, Glasgow Perthshire 1, Beath 1, 5-4 in penalties, Bellshill 2, Pollock 3, Bonneton 1, St Cadoc's 4, Carluke 3, Glenvale 1, Easterhouse 0, Troon 3, Arvo 3, Irvine Victoria 3, East Kilbride Thistle 3, 3-0 to East Kilbride in penalties, Johnson Borough 2, Irvine Meadow 0, Kilwinning 4, Glasgow United 2, Rob Roy 1, Threave 2, Lanark 0, Largs 3, Larkhall 7, Wishaw 2, Mabel 6, Thorn 1, Port Glasgow 4, Cambuslang 2, Royal Albert 2, Kilsyth 2, 4-3 Royal Albert in penalties, Glencairn 1, Drumchapel 3, Shotts 5, Lesmahagle 1, The Rock 3, Blantyre 1, Thorneywood 5, The Ants 1, West Park 2, St Peters 2, 4-2 to West Park in penalties, Whitlets 0, Clydebank 7, Yoker 3, Dalry 0. We'll start with Port Glasgow and Cambuslang because I was at that game yesterday. Really impressed with the Port. I thought, I think that's like 6 times I've been doing to watch this season, and every time I've been doing, they're actually probably getting better every single game. I don't think that Cambuslang were up to much at all. They had a couple of wee spells, but I thought the Port were worthy of their win. Port were 1-0 up, got a man sent off, went 2-0 up, I think it went 3-0, then it went 3-1, then 4-1, then 4-2. Worthy winners. I thought they were really good. I'd said to you, obviously, when we were talking before coming on, the referee was poor, really poor. Captain at Port gets sent off, and I was saying I was only about 10 yards away from it. It's a foul. Centre-half wipes out the left winger. I think he could have probably been sent off, to be honest. It was quite a bad tackle. Fortunately, the winger was all right. And Gary Pettigrew runs out to speak to the ref. Very calm. And then the ref turns around and was like, "Did you just call me a fucking arsehole?" Petty's like, "What? Is that what you're talking about?" He's like, "I never said anything to you." And he sent him off. But just before that had happened, Tam Jameson had shouted to his centre-half who gave the foul away. He's like, "You need to read the danger." And the referee turned around thinking he was talking to him and says, "Who are you fucking talking to?" And you're like, you're really an uphill battle if that's how the referee's speaking to you. I think Tam had been kind of winding him up during the game, but a bit of professionalism and no reacting that way. But I report were worthy winners. I predicted Cambuslang a few weeks ago to go down in the second division. Based off of what I seen yesterday, I'm more convinced of that now. I think it was I know Reporter are one of the better teams in the 4th division, but you shouldn't be getting beat 4-2 off a team 2 leagues below you when they're down to 10 men.
Aye, and we played Cambuslang 2 weeks ago in the Scottish, and I think one thing about them is they seem to always score. They seem to always score goals, but it's keeping them out of the other end that seems to be the problem. And when you're down the bottom end of the table, conceding goals is just if you're conceding, they've conceded 7 in the last 2 games, and but I think every game that they've had this season, both teams have scored.
Aye.
You know, so it's they're that kind of team where I can imagine as a manager, Paul's probably pulling his hair out, to be honest, because it gives you good confidence to think, right, we're getting into a game, we know we're going to score, but it's how many are you going to concede?
Aye.
It's the problem, and that's just it's a terrible place to be when you're a manager, like, because you just can't rely on your defence to keep clean sheets, and you know yourself, if you're trying to stay in a league, you need to keep clean sheets, you need to keep it tight at the back and try and nick these victories here and there, but it just seems to be all over the place in terms of scoring goals and conceding goals for them. So it'll be a tough ask for them to stay up, I think.
I think as Paul's very experienced at this level. He's had that team I had Cambuslang in the Premier League, him and Billy did, and they've done well. But I feel like this is just a bit too much for them now. And there was actually a bit of quality in their team, but what I would say, and I don't mean to offend people, but they were quite an overweight team. Quite a few of them were carrying a bit of timber, and it's I don't think that at that level, even if you're getting paid or whether you're not getting paid, I don't really think you should be carrying too much weight if you want to be a decent player. But moving past that, result that stood out for us this week, Royal Albert drawing with Kilsyth Rangers, then beating them in penalties. Royal Albert have obviously had a really poor start to the season. They are sitting down the bottom end of the table in the 4th division. Kilsyth, who I think are usually a pretty steady team, having a so-so season, but I think that's a really impressive result for Royal Albert, and they've brought in a few new players. I think they got a couple for Lanark in the last couple of weeks. They're trying to make a bit of a dent and spending a bit of money, I think, for what I've heard, trying to get boys in to improve the squad. That's a real statement for me for teams in the 4th division who are going to be playing against Royal Albert now. You're thinking maybe 6 weeks ago you go to Royal Albert, you think we're going to maybe take 3 or 4 off them. I think the last couple of weeks it's a massive improvement. I don't think it's going to be the case anymore when they're playing.
Aye, it's always dangerous as well. Like, see, for teams in the 4th division, the ones that have already played Royal Albert that have got an easy victory, but now you're maybe if you're up the top end and you're looking at playing them, then you're thinking twice about it. You're maybe not going to have as easy a time as you had before. And fair play to them if they've got investment from somewhere, that's great. It's just important to spend it wisely.
Aye.
Because I can't see them troubling the promotion spots this year. They've only won 1 game out of 8 all season. So it's probably a bit next year for them. So I would hope if they're spending money, they've got these boys in 2-year deals or 18-month contracts or something, just to because I don't really see the point in spending the money just now for this season. It's probably a bit next season, but great result for them at the weekend, and it's good to see them improving. Because I always like these kind of old-fashioned junior teams. I like to see them doing well. I don't like to see them stuck down the bottom of the leagues, getting hammered every week. So it's good to see them doing well.
Aye. A result actually I forgot to read out there. Cumnock 3, Ashfield 3, 6-5 to Ashfield in penalties. I've mentioned Cumnock a few times recently. I've mentioned both teams quite a bit recently for similar reasons. Cumnock, I think that's a shocking result, and I don't mean to be disrespectful to Ashfield for that. Well done to Neil and his team. That's a great result for them, but I think that's a shocking result for Cumnock. I think you'll be able to tell us what competitions they've been knocked out of recently and where they are in the Premier League. But that's no good enough. I mean, with the quality they've got, the investment they've put in their team, that's really no good enough at all, particularly at home. But Ashfield, on the other hand, they're having a really tough season. I think that's a great result for them, and I hope that for Neil and the boys that starts to kick them on a wee bit and gives them a bit of confidence, because we've mentioned before how they really, 2 or 3 players at the start of the season have had to rebuild their whole squad. So it's a transition year for them. I still think they'll go down in the 1st division, but that's a great result and hopefully it gives them a wee bit of confidence. But Cumnock, never near good enough for me.
First of all, congratulations to Ashfield. It's great to take a Premier League scalp. I would imagine most people, I don't know what odds Cumnock were, but I would imagine it would have been very, very long odds on yesterday, and I don't think there would have been many people that would have fancied Ashfield to go and get something. But even at that, it's not even as if they just held on for a 0-0 or a 1-1. It's like they've scored 3. They've went there and scored 3 goals.
I know.
Do you know what I mean? Against the Cumnock side, and Cumnock, it's just, I don't know. It just seems like the season's just kind of falling apart a wee bit. I mean, that's them. What, they're out the senior Scottish, out the junior Scottish. They're now out the West. They're still in the South Challenge. They're 1 point above the relegation zone. Okay, they've got games in hand. I think they've only played 8 games, so they've got games in hand of that. But for the investment that they made in the summer, I would imagine to be out of the three major cup competitions before the kind of start of November, if you like, and be teetering in relegation is. And listen, it's nothing to do with. I think if I'm not one of these people that say, "Oh, you've got money," like, and moan about it and all that kind of stuff. I think if you've got the investment there, go and spend it and go and get good players and bring them into the league and make the league better. But with that brings an expectation, and the expectation for me, looking at it from the outside, is I would have expected Cumnock to be going far in the cup competitions and being up the top end of the table, and it's just not happening for them this season for whatever reason. And it's kind of worrying times. I would imagine the fans up there at Cumnock will be getting restless with these kind of results and looking at where their season's going, because it's in danger of becoming an absolute disaster, if they get sucked into that relegation battle.
Well, the thing is, there's nothing to suggest on current form that they won't. I mean, you see the Bens picking up a point away at the Talbot yesterday, which is something we'll touch on. That takes my point closer to Cumnock. The games in hand, I don't think they mean a great deal at this stage when you're in that kind of form. I just think it's really, really poor. I expected. I thought Cumnock were going to be top half of the table comfortably this season, and it's really not panning that way. It's a really poor result.
There were people tipping them to win the league this year.
Aye,
with the investment, with like bringing in boys like Stefan McCluskey and signing the Stranraer, the boy Tam Orr, is it for Stranraer, and things like that. So, and then getting Dylan Dykes Dylan Dykes from Atherley as well. So, like I said, the investment's been massive over the summer, and there were people tipping them to be winning the league, never mind competing for it. So, it's no good. It doesn't seem to be happening for whatever reason. So it'd be interesting to find out what's going on, because something's definitely not right in Cumnock.
I agree. Just no so much to touch on the game. 3-2 to Pollock away to Bells Hill. For me, that's a really good effort for Bells Hill. Had them at 2 each at one point. Pollock scored late on. So the result you'd expect Pollock to win, but that's a really good showing for Bells Hill, pushing it so close. But it's just to touch on Adam Fordy, who scored his 118th and 119th goals at Pollock, which takes him one ahead Brian Dingwall and make them the club's top goal scorer in the 21st century. And I believe I seen Max had put a comment on earlier. I think he's only 4 or 5 goals away from being Pollock's top goal scorer ever. So that's mainly mentioned this game for Fordy because I think that's a tremendous achievement. It's not something you see a lot now with guys staying at clubs for so long either. That's just a phenomenal achievement. So well done to Fordy on that, and well done to Pollock on their win after losing to Drumchapel last week. They would be looking to bounce back, but again, I think it's a decent showing for Bells Hill and gives them a wee bit of confidence knowing that they can compete with a team, I think, 3 leagues above them.
It's not an easy place to go. Bells Hill, it's the park. I don't know what it's like this season, but when we were up there last year or 2 years ago, it was like concrete. Do you know what I mean? And it seems like the ball just goes out the park all the time. Do you know what I mean? I don't know why, but it just feels like the ball just ends up skating out the park all the time. So it's no easy, but it's important to go there and win. And if you're the Premier League club, you're expected to go there and win. And as you said, Adam Ford, that's a fantastic record. I think I remember a few years ago, there was always kind of rumours that he was going to move, he was going somewhere else, and he stuck it out. And scoring goal scorers are worth their weight in gold or in goals, whatever you want to say. But they're well worth the money if boys can put the ball in the net. So it's a great achievement for him, and it's something that he can look back on, and when he's finished playing and get a bit of recognition as a true legend of Pollock and stuff like that. So it's good.
100%. A big result for me, 3-2 Darvel away to Gartcairn. Gartcairn have been absolutely flying recently, putting some really good wins together. We've spoken about them a lot this season in terms of they have so much quality in that team, and they weren't really doing it at the start of the year. They've really kicked on a late, winning I think something like 4 or 5 out of the last 6 or 7, having a really good run. Darvel, on the other hand, you can give the stats since I was going to steal it off you, but Darvel have played so many cup games. Obviously, we know they're minus 2 points in the league. I think it's going to be a big ask for them to try and catch up all that, all the points that they're behind and having to play so many games, because I think that'll catch up with them later in the season. But in the cups, they're doing really well, and that's another really good win for them.
Mm-hmm. Cups don't seem to be a problem for them. Definitely not. I mean, it's mental. They've played what 6 or 7 cup games in a row. I think they've not played a. If I'm correct, they've played 2 league games since the 7th of September. And we're going to be, so that's like 2 months, 8 weeks, or what, 9 weeks worth of football, and they've played 2 league games. And if you were sitting up the top, you'd be thinking it's okay, but when you're down the bottom, you want to get games on and try and get up the table, and it's going to be a struggle for them, especially coming into the winter, because you're going to start having games off and all that kind of thing. So try to get a bit of momentum to try and get them up the table is going to be difficult. But I was surprised at that result. I expected better for Gart Cairn. But like I said, congratulations to Darvel. Just hope they get some league games now to get some results on the board.
So they're minus 1 point. They lost the first 5 league games. They've drawn the last 2.
Mm-hmm.
It obviously shows us a marked improvement, and Mick's a good manager. He did well at amateurs with Hairstains, and a tremendous job at Ashfield. I think that he needs time, and see if it's maybe going to be too much. They've got 23 games left, so it's really a lot of football to be played for them. They can
Mm-hmm.
2 or 3 wins and they're right back in the mix. So it's not like it's out with the realms of possibility, but it just might be a lot for them. But even if they don't manage to turn it around in terms of staying up in the league, I really hope that the club give Mick time, because I think he is a really good manager. Talking about teams who have played very few games in the league because of cup action, Clydebank 1-7 now away to Whitlets. 16 wins out of 16 for them this season. Incredible. I think they must be the most informed team. Well, I think they're new. Now that Aberdeen lost against Celtic, they are probably the most informed team in the country. And I think it's an incredible run. Whitlets are having a wee bit of time at the new couple of hard games that they really would have liked to have won in the league, that they've dropped points in, put a bit of pressure on them for trying to win the league. But 7-0, very convincing for Clydebank, and it does look at the moment, it's hard to see where they're going to slow down.
Mm-hmm. There was one of my pals was at the game, and I spoke to him after about 35 minutes. I think it was 5-0 at that point, and the feedback from him was just it was far too easy for Clydebank. It was just they weren't even out of second gear, to be honest. They were exploiting, from what I heard. So don't quote me on it, but I was hearing that they were exploiting Whitlets over the top, and it was just far too easy. And like I said, Whitlets, they are going through a sticky patch as well, like losing 4-0 to Muirkirk and then getting beat off Neilston as well, and now getting a real doing. And I saw there was a really good crowd there, which is great. Obviously, a lot of guys will have came down from Clydebank, but it's great for Whitlets at their new park to get big crowds through the door. But it doesn't matter, even if you're playing, you know yourself, even if you're a lower league team playing a Premier League team, getting beat 7-0 still takes a bit of getting over. It doesn't really matter who you play. It's just it still takes a bit of getting over. So it'll be interesting to see how they bounce back at the weekend. Mick will have a job to kind of pick them up and put it to the back of their mind and kind of look forward to Saturday, because they need to get their league kind of campaign back on track.
Aye, I think so, because that's a hard wee run, and it's teams who, obviously the Muirkirk and Neilson are really important in terms of the league, but it's teams where it's no huge shock that they're losing to Clydebank. There's no surprise they've lost there, but it's the manner of the defeat, like you said, it's you got to try and overcome. Try to see if there's anything else that's standing out. I think the Drum beating Glencairn 3-1, not a shock, but a good result for the Drum, carrying on for the win last week. Glencairn, even though they won last week late on, they look like they're in a wee bit of dip in form now, where it's a bit tougher for them. Still pulling out decent results. I wonder if that's going to impact them losing losing another game in a short period of time.
It's all going to be interesting because, like we said, there's been loads of these cup games, um, and when you're trying to get promoted or win a league, you know yourself how important momentum is in
Mm.
football. It's really important, and sometimes if you go and play, as we just spoke about, well, let's you play a team for a higher level and you get beat, it's then try to pick that up again, and
Mhm.
then right, so you get another league game and then there's another cup game, so it's just try to get, so hopefully now things can settle down a bit once these cup games are out the way. But aye, good for Drumchapel just to keep winning. Again, Premier League team going to a lower league team and just expect to win. I would say Threave probably as well stuck out
Aye,
for me.
sorry, three
Um,
2-1 win away to
mhm,
Rob Roy. Rob Roy, I really like Gibby, manager Rob Roy, but it's no going their way this season so far. Threave are a funny side. I mean, you look at, I forgot to mention them last week when we were talking about the Scottish Cup, where they ran Stranraer really close, and that's a
mhm,
really good result. Something they should be proud of. After beating Berwick as well, they've had a great run in the Scottish. They've been a bit of a mixed bag of late, where they're going and getting good results of that, and then they lost in the league and stuff. But Rob Roy, that's another game, another defeat. It's, so you get the league table up just now. I mean, Rob Roy are sitting 12th
mhm.
in the first division. I really don't think that's good enough for them just now, and there's not been many wins in there at all. But three, great win to go away to Rob Roy and
Mhm.
get the into the next round.
I think if you were looking at it on paper, you would probably I thought Threave had a chance. Rob Roy
Mhm.
not going that well. We know Threave are a good footballing side. I watched them last Friday against Stranraer. I was really impressed with the way they tried to play. I actually put money on them at 18 to 1. I was counting my money at half time, and obviously that's why you shouldn't gamble, people. But going to the Astro as well, you would expect him to be able to play on that surface. So,
Aye.
whilst it is a shock for me, it doesn't feel like the biggest shock in the world.
Oh,
It's again, it's a league above or two leagues above, but it just doesn't feel like a big shock.
no.
I don't know how you feel about it, but for me, it's a shock, but it's nothing that would make you stand
No,
up and take
I'm very
notice.
similar to yourself. It's I was not surprised at all based on the form that Rob Roy are in and the form that Threave are in. And Threave, like I said, they talk about the Berwick game, the Stranraer games, they seem to up it when they play higher division teams. But I think that Threave are probably a first division team if they can add one or two into it. I think
Hmm.
that's kind of maybe their level, kind of bottom half of the first division at this time, and maybe mid-table. So it's not like you say, it's not a great shock. But we'll move on to league action now. The only game in the Premier League, Talbot won, the Bens won. I think that looking at the league table, Talbot are sitting in ninth place. Only played 8 games. They've only lost one game. So other than Largs and Clydebank, they've lost the least amount of games, but have drawn four. So
Hmm.
that's 5 out of the 8 they've dropped points in.
Hmm.
For me, the Talbot won't win the league. I actually think there's no chance of that. Dropping too many points, too many draws,
Hmm.
which is really hurting them. The Bens, though, that's a good result for them because the Winters have found that difficult coming in. It's not been a great start for them. Lost a couple of games that in the cups and stuff you'd be surprised that league game their form's not been great, but that's a good point for them and maybe a wee point to start kicking them on and maybe giving the players a bit of confidence that what the management team are trying to get through to them is maybe starting to pay off.
You just need to, if you're going to go to Auchinleck, it's going to be a difficult game, and
Mhm.
you're probably not expecting to get much from the game. So to come away from a point, we said a couple of weeks ago, when you're down the bottom of the table, points feel good. They feel like
Aye.
they're gained. Um, I watched the highlights of this today, where the wee man was having his afternoon nap. So it was interesting. The lineup for Auchinleck surprised me. There was no Wardrobe. Mick Wardrobe didn't play. Neil McPherson didn't play. I think Big Neely was in Australia at a family wedding, so I don't know when he get back. But he wasn't playing. And Connor Boyd wasn't playing either. He wasn't even in
Mm.
the squad, so maybe injured. They conceded from a set piece. Again, I think we said it when we were on a large game. It's so un-Auchinleck-like for them to
Aye.
concede from a set piece, and it was his second ball from a set piece as well. So it's just like it's just really unlike them to concede goals that way. Tucker made a couple of changes at half time, brought McPherson and Wardrobe back on, and they looked a bit better. But Benbow had a really good chance just halfway through the second half, and if that goes in, makes it 2-0. You would fancy them to go on and take the 3 points, but it didn't. And then they scored. Tarek Abed scored in the 91st minute to rescue a point. So they've really kind of stole a point, if that makes sense. So
Aye.
when you're saying about David and Robbie at Benbob, they will be really disappointed not to come away with the 3 points. And it's probably one of those where you concede in the 91st minute in a game when maybe you weren't thinking you were going to get anything from anyways, but you automatically think, oh,
Aye.
you're a bit down, you've only got a point. But I'm sure when they look back on it, they'll see it as a point gained rather than kind of 2 points lost, I would imagine. So
Well, it does take them in goal difference out of the relegation zone. Hurlford now drop in with 4 goals worse of a goal difference. We were talking about Darvel. You got like Shots yesterday, who I think Shots will go down. I think that they're one of the teams. They're probably the team in the league for me who have adapted least well to coming up. Only won 1 out of 9, but they had a 5-1 win yesterday against Les Mexico, which might be a wee confidence boost for them. But then you look at further up the table, teams who had previous years have been really challenging. Beath only beating Perthshire in penalties yesterday. Their results have been really, really poor of late for me. They're already 10 points back and played 2 games more than Clydebank. So all hope's gone for them, in my opinion. Pollock, I don't think they'll win the league either. But if Pollock can put 2 or 3 wins together, they move themselves right into it. Largs are 5 points behind with 2 games more played. I really think that potentially the Drum and maybe Troon and Johnson Borough are the only teams who could mount any kind of challenge because they've got the games that they could potentially go and win. But I'm struggling to see anything other than Clydebank winning this league unless there's a capitulation.
I can't see any other result than Clydebank winning the league, to be honest with you, Paul. I think it's, as you said, unless there's a capitulation. But with the players they've added, the way they've went about their business this year has been really, really impressive. They're just rolling. It's just like result after result after result, and I can't. When you look at the other teams, there just seems to be a bit of kind of everybody kind of can beat everybody. And even when Clydebank aren't playing, they're still finding themselves in a really strong position. They're 5 points in front with 2 games in hand. It's an unbelievable position to be in when you're only not even halfway through the season yet. So I can't see anything other than Clydebank winning the league, to be honest with you. And to be bold, I don't even think it's going to be that close, to be honest. I think it could be. It could be
looking
done
at a
pretty
12
early.
pointer, 14 pointer or something like that, potentially. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, you know what it's like? Clydebank could go and lose next week. Who are they playing next week? They are. Well, actually, they've got Largs away next week.
But
So that's a toughie.
mm-hmm.
If Clydebank win that, then Largs' chances of winning the league are gone. That would be 8 points behind.
Mm-hmm.
2 games more played. That would be it going. In the Premier League next week, we've got Talbot and at home at Gartcairn. Beath are playing Darvel. The Bens and Pollitt are playing Drumchapel and St Cadoc's. Glenafton, Troon, Hurlford, Johnson Borough, Largs, Clydebank, Shots, and Cumnock. A lot of interesting games next week. I think that Darvel would maybe be looking at going to Beath and thinking this is a place we can go and get some points because they're not having a great run at, like we mentioned.
They've got to.
They would be looking to get that.
Uh-huh.
I think an interesting one as well is St Cadoc's have started to pick up. Another one yesterday for them. going to the Dewar to play Drumchapel. That's two good footballing sides for me. And that'll be really interesting.
Mhm.
And at the bottom end of the table, Shots against Cumnock will be interesting. I do fancy Cumnock to win that, but that'll be a really interesting game, and that could have a huge impact on what we're
Mhm.
looking at for relegation and that. Because if Shots win, that takes them tied in points with Cumnock. Unless it's a very impressive one, they'll still be behind them in goal difference.
Mhm.
But Cumnock would be sucked right into it, and that could be really interesting.
I think it's the proverbial 6 pointer, isn't it?
Aye,
After the disappointment of yesterday's result for Cumnock, they need to go to Shots and get something. They need to win that game, really.
aye,
Everybody would be expecting them to win it, but it's important that they do win it. If they don't, then it's kind of all opens up really at the bottom, And I think if you look at Glenafton as well, at home to Troon, that'll be an interesting one as
yep.
well. They've picked up a wee bit under Paul, so that'll be another interesting one, and it could be. Um, Unfortunately, if Darvel don't go to be then win, they could then find themselves even more detached if other teams around about them are picking up points. But I
I
agree
think an
with you. I
interesting
think.
one is Hurlford and the Borough as
Hmm.
well.
Hmm.
The Borough won yesterday 2-0 against the Meda, who the Meda have obviously been picking up recently. Um, I'd fancy the Borough to win that because they're in form. Hurlford, if they lose, they're 6 points for 11 games. They're in a really sticky position if they don't win, and it's hard to see the new because they've only won 1 out of 10 so far,
Hmm.
and it's really hard to see where they're going to go and pick up points as well.
Hmm. And their main issue is scoring. I think they've only
Mhm.
scored 9 in 10 games, which is not
No,
gonna do it, unfortunately. And conceding 23 as well. So you're conceding over 2 a game and you're scoring less than 1 a game. That's not a recipe for a successful season, unfortunately.
nah, definitely not. We'll move on to the first division. Only two games on. Kilbirnie 2, Cumbernauld 2, Petershill 0, Vale of Clyde 0. Cumbernauld 2-0 up away to Kilbirnie yesterday. I think that Nizzy and Doza were really disappointed with that one. That would have been a good opportunity for them to keep themselves within touching distance of the promotion spots. Whereas now they're sitting in eighth place. They are 8 points off of the promotion spots, whereas there'd have been five with a game in hand on the rock. With Mabel no playing in the league yesterday, that would have been another opportunity to keep themselves within touch. Thornywood as well no playing. Again, they'd have kept in touch with him. I think that Kilbirnie and Cumbernauld will probably just be mid-table teams this season. I think there's too many points being dropped for them both, and it's no. I feel like the first division was quite a dull one yesterday. Just four teams who aren't playing for a massive amount, going and getting draws, and it's kind of that's how I think their most of their seasons will pan out. Maybe Vale of Clyde a bit different because they could potentially be in a relegation fight if the Meda start to pick up points. But if they
Hmm.
don't, then it could be quite a dull season for those four teams involved.
Hmm. Kilbirnie's issues is draws, far too many draws. I think
Yep.
that they've
5 and 11.
four in a row, I think, in the league
Yep.
they've drawn.
Aye.
So it's just you if you're, I'm sure Collins' expectations would have been for them to be challenging for promotion this year. I've no doubt that that's what he would have wanted them to be. But just too many draws. You need to
Aye.
win these games. You need to find a way to turn these 1 points into three, as we were saying earlier. Sometimes a draw feels like a good result, but when you're trying to get up that table, it's just, oh, we're another draw. Do you know what I mean? We're falling behind, and it's probably at the stage now where they're probably too far behind, and then it's where do we go for here? And as you said, kind of mid-table, they're not going to get down, they're not going to go up. It's just kind of
Aye. It's a very
vanilla.
yeah. Same with Petershill. That's
I thought they'd have been up
I
there.
know that's back to back draws for them in the league this the last two games. They'll get 15 points, played 10 games, so they are sitting 8 points as well off a the promotion spots. The way that the top teams are playing in the first division, I just don't see them being able to hold on, because Arthur and Glencairn have had a great start to the season, both only losing one game. The Rock are in a real bit of form, winning 4 out of the last 5 in the league with a draw. They're doing really well. Another win for them yesterday in the Cup. Mabel, I thought a game we never actually touched on, Mabel with a 6-1 win over Thorn yesterday, which was granted 2 divisions apart, but no many teams did that to Thorn. That was a really good win for them. And they're in our team. They've won 4 out the last 6 in the league, picking up lots of points. So it's hard to see anything other than potentially down to 5th or 6th place. Thornwood Renfrew. Anybody below them, I don't think has any chance of getting promoted.
Unless somebody puts together a real run of results. But again, it seems it's a very cutthroat league. I mean, there's not many games in that league where you would look at and have a real strong feeling that one team's going to beat the other. Apart from Atherley, maybe Rutherglen are just going about their business quietly. St Rochs are a bit of the surprise candidate. I don't know much about their squad, but they certainly wouldn't have been one that I would have tipped to go up. I wouldn't have tipped them to go down, but I wouldn't have said they'd be where they're at. So it's just about them maintaining. And same with Maybole. I as I said a few weeks ago when I was on, I thought Maybole would maybe struggle this year, but they've surpassed all expectations and doing really well. And sometimes you just get seasons like that where everything just clicks and things work well for you. So hopefully they can keep it going, because as I've said before, ex-club of mine, and I'm pleased to see them at the top end of the table.
I think they're exceeding expectations. Just the one game in the 3rd division yesterday, Kilsyth Athletic 4, Vake of Leven 1. I feel this is to be honest, actually, I thought Kilsyth were out the running for promotion, but looking at it, they're only 2 points off second in the league, and they're in a good bit of form. Probably too many draws in there, but the last 6 games in the league have been draw, win, draw, win, draw, win. So they're being fairly consistent, and in that league, I think that kind of form will get you in and about the promotion spot. So it's actually a really important win for them. Vake of Leven, on the other hand, that's 3 defeats in a row. They've only won 2 out of 11. That's them. They're in the relegation zone. It's looking like a hard season for them. I thought Vake of Leven were going to do better this year, because they had that really good run last year, and they looked like there was a possibility of them getting up, and then kind of fell away at the end. They've not obviously been able to replicate that kind of form this season. So they're in they're not in the relegation zones. They're a point
Just
above
a
it.
point above.
But that's a really important win for Kilsyth, actually, and quite a game for the Vake of Leven that they really could have done without losing.
I'm the same as you. I thought Vake of Leven would have been doing better than their league position suggests, but it's obviously just not happening for them for whatever reason, and they're going to get drawn into that relegation spot. You'd imagine they're a point ahead of Girvan. Girvan's got a game in hand. Wishaw, we'll see what happens with Aaron taking over, if he manages to improve them, and if Irvin Vicks can improve and put some results together, then they could find themselves down there very quickly. So disappointing for them, because I thought they were a decent side whenever we've played them. I thought they were not a bad side, and they'll be disappointed to be where they're at. And then at the other end, Kilsyth, as you say, just a bit inconsistent, aren't they? But if you can win games, I mean, if you know you can score goals and you can win games, and maybe you lose a couple or whatever, but they could be up there. But I just think their inconsistency is going to come back to bite them at the end, because you know yourself, you need to put a run together if you're going to get one of those top 3 spots.
When you look at the teams above them just now, Finnart, excuse me, Finnart have won 4 out of the last 6, so they're kind of picking up similar points. Perthshire have won 3, but not lost in any of the last 5, kind of similar. Greenock absolutely flying, 5 wins out of the last 6. The Thorn, 4 wins in a row. Greenock and the Thorn for me are looking the 2 that could potentially push on, but Perthshire as well, they're having a good season, and losing narrowly in penalties to Bede yesterday is another indicator that they're doing quite well. Down the bottom end of the table, you talk about Irvin Vicks and Wishaw. I think Az has got a massive job in his hands at Wishaw. I think that we could be looking at another relegation for them. I mean, let's see if I can get it up. How many games they won last season, because it's been really poor for them. That no won a game this season. Irvin Vicks have really struggled with the change in management. So it is quite hard to see where these teams are going to be picking up enough points to get themselves safe. Last year, Wishaw have won 7 out of the last 40 league games, and that's really no form.
What was the attraction of Aaron going there? Have you spoken to him?
I spoke to him. Look,
Just because on paper for me, going to a club, he's been at East Kilbride for a couple of years, doing reasonably well, building something, and then he's left to go to a club, as you said, hasn't won a game all season. You know, it was a strange one for me, but I don't know. Maybe if you've spoken to him, maybe there's
I don't know if maybe he felt that he reached his ceiling at East Kilbride, had been there a few years, and they were kind of hovering about that top 5, 6 place in the 4th division, and maybe because everybody knows East Kilbride don't have any money, so maybe it's hard to progress. Where Wishaw have been better than East Kilbride in previous years, but they seem to be on a right downward spiral. But I'd hope that they would give him time, because they must know that the position of what he's coming into is a team that have won 7 games in 40. You know what I mean? It's really not encouraging. So I don't know. But moving on to the 4th division, last game, only the one game, last game of the show. Newmains now, Kello 3. Newmains had a good win last week. They're a kind of funny side for me. They're a bit inconsistent in that league. 5 and well, the perfect example. Played 10, won 5, lost 5. Kello are really motoring on just now, and they're putting themselves in a position where, with Knightswood and the Port and Easterhouse, they're really looking like a team who could go up. Rossvale have had a wee dip in form. I think that they've got enough about them that they'll start to win games again. But Kello only slowing, and they're taking advantage of games when the likes of Knightswood or the Port or Easterhouse aren't playing in the league. So they've definitely put themselves in a very strong position.
I think the one thing that sticks out for me for Kello is their goals against. I mean, they've only conceded 12 goals, which is the joint second lowest in the league. Obviously, Knightswood 9 and Eglinton with 12 as well. So that's a massive bonus. I spoke before when I was on about the goalie down there who's a real kind of man mountain and makes a big difference to them. So if they're no conceding goals, they'll score goals at the other end with the boys up front. So I am, as I said before, I'm really pleased to see them up there. I hope they do clinch one of those 3 spots. They just need to keep it going, just find that consistency. We know, I would say probably second half of the season, the last couple of years, they've found it a bit tougher. So it's just about making sure that they kick on. I know the surface down there takes a hammering in the winter, and they get loads of games off. So you just hope that they don't end up with a massive backlog, and then they don't have a game for 5 weeks, and then they've got a game here, and then they're off for another 2 weeks. You know, that kind of thing. That can really derail your team if you're trying to get promoted, and you end up having to play Saturday, Wednesday. You have to go to places like Royal Albert or East Kilbride on a Wednesday night. You know, that kind of thing. That can really kill your chances of getting promoted. So hopefully the weather stays kind to them down there, and they can keep the games on and get the victories on the board and secure one of those spots, because I'd like to see it for Greg and Mark Keegan's and the boys down there.
I think it's one of the ones sometimes when you get relegated, and it's obviously very doom and gloom, but it has the potential the next season where you can go and have a good season. I'd imagine the crowds at Kello are probably up a bit, bringing a wee bit more money in for the club. There's a feel-good factor because they are winning and looking to try and potentially win a league or at least get promoted. But looking at the 4th division, the top 7 teams are starting to make a wee bit of a breakaway for everybody else if Eglinton can win their games in hand. Because Eglinton have started to turn up. They started to do well in the cups. They're looking like a different side. West Park, 4 wins in a row in the league. A win against St Peters in the cup yesterday. Easterhouse, granted they lost yesterday, but higher league opposition have lost to. They're they've really impressed me this season. 4 wins and a draw in the last five. The Port are the same, 4 wins and a draw in the last five. A good win yesterday. Like I said, they've improving. Kello have only lost 1-6. Knights would have only lost 1-10. Sorry, drawn 1-10, 1-9. There is a bit of a gap starting to open up, and it'll be really interesting because Rossvale have to start turning up and getting some results if they want to keep themselves in the hunt. And it is only a couple of results in it at all turns, but that is going to be a really interesting promotion hunt with 7 teams right in it.
Yeah, I would fancy Knightswood to go up as champions. I would say they've not lost a game this year. I would fancy them to win the league, and then I think it's 2 from 6 probably all the way down to Eglinton. I would say it's any 2 from those ones, like you said. Eglinton have picked up, as of West Park. Rossvale have stumbled. Easterhouse are going along consistently. Port Glasgow have been a wee bit up and down, but in the main relatively consistent. So it'll be 2 from that 6, I would imagine, and I probably wouldn't want to put any money on who I thought it would be, or who I think it's going to be. At this stage, I think Christmas will tell, because, like I said, you're looking at Kello on the grass. Probably the only team that play in the West Park playing grass. Are they in Astro?
No, they're Astro.
So again,
I think they're.
Aye. So it comes back to what I was saying earlier. Like, Kello could end up having games off, whereas all these other teams that have got the AstroTurf surfaces could play games and get their noses in front, and then Kello are then having to try and catch up. So it'll be interesting to see how it looks kind of end of January, start of February.
Well, we're talking about. Do you know, actually, I think I maybe missed the result for the cups, but anyway, we're talking about these teams who are all winning, and Rossvale are one who are struggling a wee bit just now. Kello are away to Cumnock next week, even though Cumnock got a good win yesterday. You'd fancy Kello to win that. Easterhouse are at home to St Peters. You'd fancy them to win that. Knightswood playing BSC. That's a wee bit of a derby game, even though it probably won't mean a great deal to either. Knightswood, I expect a comfortable win there. Eglinton away to Newmains. I expect them to probably go and get a win. Port are playing Campbelltown at home. They'll win that, so you'd expect. But then you've got Rossvale, you've got Royal Albert. And that's going to be a really tough game there. Like you touched on with Royal Albert, where a lot of teams have got comfortable wins against them, and they'll be happy with their 3 points in the goal difference improvement. Rossvale are probably the unlucky ones who are going to get them when they're on the other side and they're starting to pick up. So that could potentially be another game where teams are starting to get themselves away for Rossvale.
And Cumnock's not an easy place to go in the winter, because it's
It's the windiest place in the world.
Horrific, man. You're playing in the top of Mount Everest with the wind machine turned on. Do you know what I mean? It's an absolute. It takes about an hour and a half to get the ball back when it goes out for a shy. So it's a horrible, horrible place to play football, and that's no disrespect to Cumnock. I mean, absolutely not. It's just unfortunate that that's where they play. It's a horrible place, and I'm sure anybody that's played there would say the same.
You end up with altitude sickness and all that when you're playing.
Yeah, and fair play to them to use it to their advantage. But anytime I've went up there, I always seem to struggle, whether it's a coach or a player. And I think it's just in my head now. I think I've got PTSD for playing against Cumnock, to be honest.
I've only played there once and I won. So I've got a good record there. But I think next week will be very, very interesting in the 4th division. And I always harp on it, but it's probably one of my favourite divisions, and I'm looking forward to see how that pans out. But look, that'll do us for another week. So we'll have you back next week, and we'll go through all these league games, and we'll have a great chat about it. But cheers for joining us as usual, mate.
No bother, mate. Enjoyed it. Listen, we said we're only going to do half an hour, but once you start talking football, you're off, aren't you?
Into it. I know it's going. My daughter's literally just been sick. I just heard her being sick there, so going to need to phone my mum to watch her for school tomorrow. And, busy night for me. But look, everybody, thanks for watching or listening, and make sure you get down and watch your local teams next week. Take care. Cheers.